6 questions, and we will be alternating, obviously, between the two. And each, the question will be open to all 4 people each time, and they will each have 2 minutes to respond. So, I'll introduce them when we get going, but for now, I'm going to pass it off to Linda Lalonde.
Okay, first I want to ask if people want the presentation in English or in French, or both, or shall I stand in my head, or what? What I was thinking, do you all understand English? No? What I was going to do, ce que je pensais de faire, ça c'est ça se fait en français, puis je vais parler en anglais. Et peut-être, ça sera coordonné, mais peut-être pas. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these things in French, and I'll speak in English. So, as you know, there is a referendum coming up on the 10th of October. One of the things I'm going to try and do that you might not see everything that I'm saying actually on the slides, because one of the things I'm going to do is inject some of the answers to some of the questions that I get asked at every single presentation. C'est possible que les diapositives ne seront pas compréhensibles parce que je vais injecter des réponses aux questions que j'ai reçues partout avec les présentations. So there is one of the questions I get asked a lot is, why are we having this referendum in such a hurry? We know that the Citizens Assembly reported only in May, and we're in October, we're going to have an election including that. And the primary reason for that is that it would have cost double the amount of money to run the referendum separately from an election, because they would have to have the whole same process. And we all like the government to save money. Puis les francophones ne vont pas avoir le bénéfice de mes blagues, puis les jokes, puis tout ça, je regrette. Okay, the Citizens Assembly was a group of 104 people who were selected at random, and how that was done was they pressed a one button at the computer at Elections Ontario, and it shot out a bunch of names from each riding across Ontario. Those people received letters asking them if they would like to participate in the assembly, and the ones that said yes, their names were put into a hat, and they were drawn, one from each riding. And somebody's going to say that there were only 103 ridings in Ontario. The 104th person was the chair, and he was appointed by the government. So they presented the proposal in May to have a mixed member proportional system, and as a result of that, we are having the referendum. I have a question, it's a little test. How many of you have already voted in an Ontario referendum? Tricia. I said he was cheating because he just voted in this election, in this referendum. I said, okay, let me reword the question. How many of you have ever voted in a different Ontario referendum? Not even Professor Trent. You would have to be 104 years old in order to have done so, because October 23rd, 1924 is the last referendum that we had in Ontario. And someone's going to say that's only 83 years ago, but you have to be 21. And some of you wouldn't have been able to vote then anyway because you're female. Each voter, when you go to vote, you will be given 2 ballots. And the first one will be, or maybe it'll be the second one, will be the one with a list of names, and you vote for one candidate. It's the same ballot that you've received always. And the second one, because this is a big question, we have a big ballot. And this is a mock-up of the actual ballot, which will be, which you will receive. And on it, it has the question, which electoral system should Ontario use to elect members to the provincial legislature? And then you'll have 2 choices, A or B. And The first one is the existing electoral system, which is first past the post, or the alternative electoral system proposed by the Citizens' Assembly, mixed member proportional. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the two systems. The first one is the one that we've had in place since 1792, so some of you may be mildly familiar with it. Ontario has 107 electoral districts. It was 103 in the last election, but because our provincial ridings are contiguous with the federal ridings, just before the last federal election they rejigged the ridings, and there are now 107 in this election. And in each district, each voter gets one vote to choose which candidate they feel should represent them in Queen's Park. So there is one vote and there is one ballot. In this system, the candidate who gets the most votes wins. And they are the representative for the riding. And after the election, the political party that has the highest number of votes, the highest number of members, is the one that is asked to form the government. The alternative system, which is proposed by the Citizens' Assembly, is called a mixed system because it is actually a combination of two systems. It combines the first past the post system, which is the one that we have already, and a proportional representation system. And if this system is accepted, then in the future, Ontarians will have two votes, one for a local member and one for a political party. And I do have to explain to you that some of the examples and things that I'm going to use are actually theoretical. This is the way we think it might look. But because the government that's elected on the 10th will have until the 31st of December of 2008 to put forward a bill to create the legislation for this system. We will have to wait until then to find out exactly whether they will have nice pretty ballots like this, or some other system. But this is to give you an idea. And you can't see my candidates that I have here. I will let you know I am, because I work with Elections Ontario, I have no opinions about anything. Until 9 o'clock on the evening of the 10th of October. And then I will regain my thought processes. And so I'm not using the names of any candidates that you've ever heard of, although I have had some suggestions for who the candidates I'm using here represent. The first one is Bugs Bunny, Porky Pig, Elmer Fudd, and Wile E. Coyote. Some of you may be old enough to know who those are. And so the ballot that you will get will look something like this. So it will have the ballot that you are familiar with the names, and then underneath it will have a separate ballot on the same page, which will have a list of the political parties. In order to be on this list of political parties, you must be a registered party. I get asked a lot, well, what about the independents? Well, the independents are welcome to go and set up an independent party, but until they do, they will have no access to this process, although they can have as many candidates as they'd like up here.